welcome back again to Storytime with Dad Booker. Today we're going to continue on with the next two chapters. We've done 1 through 4. We're going to do 5 and 6 today. The next two chapters in the Reluctant Left Hand of God. So we'll get right into it. Hope you're enjoying these. If you are, let me know in the comment section. This one's titled Challenges. God and several angels were having a late night poker game and talking about some of their favorite chosen people on earth. One angel was discussing the challenges they face with keeping the chosen ones of God on track. We have to keep on them all the time or they fall away. You don't realize how much it takes to keep them on track. God took a large bite from his hoagie and pointed to a picture on the wall. It was one of his favorites by the name of Job. This one doesn't require any upkeep. No matter what, I bet he'd stay on track. Satan came back from refilling his tankard. Of course he would. You've given him so much, why wouldn't he? But you take all that away, and I'll bet you anything you want, he'd bail in a heartbeat. God quaffed the rest of his beer and slammed the empty tankard on the table. Done, he cried. The angel looked startled. I'll bet you a second set of wings that he wouldn't. Now, Satan had always wanted a second set. Those were for the highest ranked angels. So far, there was only Gabriel, and he never had to clean toilets or unclog sinks. God set aside his pipe. Let's put some rounders first. Satan looked up from his cards and set them aside. What kind of rules? Sounds like you're not so sure as you were. God tapped on the table with his pencil. That's not that. I just think if we're going to make a bet, we should say exactly what we're betting on. Satan shrugged. Okay, but we both have to agree on them. God nodded and wrote the first item. You can't kill him. Satan smote his forehead with his hand. Duh, what's the point of killing him? That about as good a bet is if I kill him. God crossed it off as unnecessary. Okay, you can't harm him physically. Take away his house and property, etc., but you can't harm him. Well, how about his family? God looked startled. Oh, you really are pushing this bet. Okay, but nothing happens to Job. The bet was sealed and Satan went down to earth and immediately demolished Job's house and dispersed his cattle. He sent a wind to engulf the place where Job's family was staying. Job sat outside the remains of his house and mourned his family and the loss of his home and cattle. He kneeled in the dust and sand and prayed. God looked down and saw that it was just as he had said. Job stayed true. Satan arrived back and sat down exhausted. God looked at Satan and smirked. Well, it looks like you don't get that second set after all. Satan looked down on earth to see Job praying. God's grin was a challenge and Satan rose to it. Look, take away a man's home, he can build another. Take away his cattle and prosperity, he can get that back eventually too. Even his family doesn't really affect him. But you hurt him physically, now it's personal. Make him sick or feel bad. Cover him in something like boils. Give him hemorrhoids. And then he's going to be unhappy enough to curse you. God gave this consideration. So, you want to go double or nothing? Satan rubbed his hands and sat across from God. What are the stakes now? If you do this and he doesn't turn, then you lose your wings for 500 years and you have to stay on earth during that time. Well, Satan nodded and lay back in his chair. But what if I win? God drummed his fingers on the table, trying to think of something that would please Satan. Oh, I'll place you as head angel for 2 millennia. Satan's eyes flew wide. That was almost as good as being God. The alternative wasn't attractive, though, and he had to think hard about doubling down. Done, he said at last and took God's hand. Satan flew down and contemplated what would do the job on Job, but not be so ridiculously unpleasant that God would cry foul. He settled on boils as being unpleasant, uncomfortable, and visible. Job, once afflicted, went to bed and lay there. A couple of Job's friends stopped by periodically to talk with him. They expressed concern that Job must have done something pretty terrible for God to be letting this happen. Months go by and Job is no better. His friends taunted him so much that Job raised on an elbow. I haven't done anything and stop saying I have. You've got it spread out all over town that I wouldn't be in this fix if I had been a good man. God's just asleep at the wheel, or he'd never let me go through this. If not, well, all his frustration burst through. Well, then he's against me, and I say he's my enemy too. I'm a good and holy man, and God is now my enemy because he is allowing me to suffer. At these words, Satan flew up to the bar and demanded God pay up. Satan received a second set of wings and promotion. Gabriel was demoted, but only temporarily. But God was hurt, both that he lost the bet, but more importantly that his favor had failed the test. God called the runt over and had him go down and have a heart-to-heart with Job. The runt descended, and tucking his wings under his robe, he called on Job. Job was laying on a mat laid on the floor of what used to be his home. The runt walked in and sat down. So, how you doing? Job looked at the runt exasperated, then lay back and closed his eyes. Just dandy. The runt eased away a little as Job had been laying there for over a month and hadn't washed. Look, I just want to have a little talk with you. Job opened his eyes and glared at the runt. Nah, you're just like my two so-called friends. Always want to talk. Job, you had to have been a real bad boy or this wouldn't be happening. Job, God doesn't treat good people like this. Do good and good things will happen. I've led a good life, a great life. I pray, I tithe, I sacrifice. I do everything God says to do, and I'm one of the holiest people around. The runt was shocked. Hell, you've got to get that ego in check. Job sat up and jabbed a finger into the runt's chest. I'll go even further. I was God's favorite. If God was ever going to visit anyone, it would be me. The runt shrunk into himself. Ooh, boy, I don't think you should have said that. A gust of wind rose from nothing, and a swirling mass of sand, dirt, and wind hovered outside what was left of Job's home. God called out to Job just as the runt hid behind a remnant of all. God explained the facts of life to Job, stressing God's pleasure, and laid out what Job would have to do to get into God's good graces again. Job humbled himself and bowed before God. The runt came out of the corner and kicked Job in the rear as he passed. Unfurling his wings, he called down, Go take a bath. The boils will go away. Job dashed to the river and bathed, then went to church and prayed. He spent the next 5 years doing good works. He helped little old ladies cross the street, rescued kittens from trees, assisted his neighbors, and went back to doing all the holy things he had done before being afflicted. The runt watched and with approval and even tested Job a few times to make sure the lesson stuck. When he was satisfied that Job wouldn't stray again, he flew up to God and then went back off to play some darts. Now God was this is the next chapter, called Just a Pinch of Salt. I need a drink, hold on. God was looking over the reports from his angels on a series of places with questionable conduct. He read the reports casually until he came to Sodom and Gomorrah. This is one of the worst and would have to be made an example of. Trouble was, one of his most trusted prophets lived there. He'd have to take this one on personally. He whistled for the runt. I have to go talk with Abraham. Why don't you pick another angel and you both come down with me? While Abraham and I talk things over, you go do an inspection of Sodom. Abraham's brother Lot lives there, so you see him first. They all went down to Abraham's place and sat around the dining room table and talked. Abraham was concerned for his brother as Sodom was getting pretty rank. Abraham told of all the gambling, drinking, riots, and rebellion against God and his people going on there. God hitched a thumb towards the door and the two angels left. At the entrance of the city, they were met by Lot. Lot was replacing a board over a window and reinforcing the door with a new lock. The runt and an angel named Bob approached and wished Lot good afternoon. Lot turned around and just said, no. He continued to hammer away. The runt and Bob walked past him into the city. Lot suddenly turned around towards them and his face was ashen. Wait, where are you going? Bob answered, we're here to do a tour of inspection. We heard things are pretty bad. Lot pointed his hammer at the reinforcements he had made. Oh, do you think I boarded up my windows and reinforced my doors for the fun of it? It's worse than bad. It's a real shithole. He saw that the two were still heading into town and called after them. Hey, don't go in there. I'm not kidding. Stay here and I'll give you dinner and a place to kip. Bob and the Runt turned around and went into Lot's place. Lot's wife left to get some more provisions. Within 10 minutes of her leaving, there was a loud pounding on the door. Hey, Lot, we heard you got company. Send them out so we can get to know them better. The Runt peeped out of the crack in the door. Get to know us better? Lot had another lock on the door. It don't mean they want to find out if you play cards or what books you like to read, if that's what you're thinking. Bob was startled. Well, what do they mean? Lot drew the bolt and the kicking and pounding commenced. They want to play games with you, and it ain't going to be any you'd enjoy. They'll beat you and sick the dogs on you, rob you, then beat you some more, passing you from one person to the next. Afterwards, they'll do whatever else their sick minds can come up with. The Runt went over to the toilet and threw up. Is this whole place like this? Bob was at the window looking at the large crowd outside. Yeah, it looks like it. The Runt sat down on a stool and thought hard. Look, Lot, you took us in and are trying to protect us. You're okay. But the rest of these people? Well, I don't think there's any hope for them. When we go back with our report, God's going to take this place out, and I don't mean for dinner. Bob, you stay here and protect our host. I'm going to do a quick check of the area and make sure there isn't anybody we want to save. Lot's daughters wanted to get their fiancés. The Runt promised to bring them back. Pack what you can, and we'll escort you out of town. The Runt passed through the wall and made a surreptitious route of the tour of the city. Both Sodom and Gomorrah were beyond help for sure. The Runt put Lot's daughter's fiancés and, folding them in his wings, brought them to Lot's home. Bob, you lead them away. Take everyone through the back door. I'll go up the front and lead these idiots into town. Lose them, and then I'll protect you from behind. He paused a moment. God has already made up his mind, and this place is going down. Let's get you folks out quick, and whatever you do, when this place starts being destroyed, don't stop to watch the show. Just keep going. Don't look back. Something bad always happens when people watch God at work. Bob punched a gaping hole in the wall, leading out, and led everyone out as fast as they could. The Runt saw that people had seen them leaving and were giving chase. The Runt spread his wings and flapped so hard sand and dirt flew at the crowd. The wind picked up harder and drove them back into town. All at once, God began the demolition with the rest of the angels encircling the two cities and pelting them with rocks. Lot's wife's curiosity got the better of her, and she turned to see the destruction. She immediately turned into a pillar of salt. Lot was going to turn as well to protect his family, but Bob kept him moving forward along with the rest of his family. We'll bring you back later, and you can see her then. Lot was safely delivered to Abraham's house, and the next day the Runt and Bob took Lot to see his wife, or what was left of her. Bob was first to recognize the pillar, and that had been Evis, Lot's wife. The Runt needed to explain a few things to Lot that the Runt had heard from God. He told Lot that Evis had not wanted to leave, and she had let everyone know that Lot had taken them in. She had encouraged the townsfolk to play around with their new guests, and apparently this wasn't the first time. She wasn't a real nice person. As they approached the pillar of salt, they saw a person crouched on the ground cooking his lunch. Every so often he'd taste his food and then scrape a little salt from the pillar. The Runt ran up to the man and tapped him on the shoulder. Excuse me, but you're adding this man's wife to your lunch. So that's it for right now. We've got, let me see how many pages this one is. That one's going to be a long one. So that's all we're going to do for today. We will continue on our next reading in a couple of days. So I look forward to seeing you then. I apologize. This was a short, relatively short one. If you are enjoying these, I really would like to know it and would love to see some remarks down here at the bottom. If you're not enjoying them, let me know that too. Understand that some of this kind of humor may not be to everybody's taste. Anyways, that's all I got for today. I hope you'll come in and visit with me again next reading, which will probably be on this in a couple of days. So I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Be good yourself. Bye. I see this thing's not going to work.